Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Lovely to see you all here, and great to see that you managed to navigate the roundabout out there and get in one piece. That was no easy feat, so sorry about that. It's really great to be able to welcome you all along to this, our third investor meeting of the year. I'm Michael Smith and I'm Chairman of First Mortgage Trust. We've had two investor meetings to date already, both in the Waikato at Te Awamutu and Matamata. And out of that, one of the things that came through loud and clear from our investor base is how important these meetings are. It's all very well having digital interfaces and newsletters, but face-to-face is really important. So it's important to you as investors, and it's equally as important to us because we get the chance to share the presentation today, and there's a lot of good news in that. So we want to get it out there and get it out to you personally. Today, the format will be that we'll have Paul, our CEO, provide an update on First Mortgage Trust, and he'll, at the end of his presentation, have a question and answer session for you for things that you may want to know that he hasn't covered. And then we're joined by Dane Robertson from the Tauranga Coast Guard and from Quinn Boyle, who's our youth sponsorship recipient. After the speakers, we'll have some morning tea, and we'd love you to stay and have a cuppa with us. So the world is a pretty different place from when we last met. After 2.5 years, it sort of feels like we're back to a new normal. And as I said earlier, face-to-face presentations are really valuable for both you and for us. But in the same way that we are fiercely protective of your investments, we also took the same approach during the pandemic to our responsibility for your health and safety. And so we deferred investor meetings through that time. The last thing that we would have wanted would to have been to have you exposed to some sort of a super spreader event. So as we haven't been able to hold an event recently, I thought I'd take some time to start just to give you a bit of an idea of what's changed from a governance sense. As I mentioned earlier, my role is chair, and I've been a director for 11 years. And in the 11 years I've been involved in FMT, I've seen the business go through a lot of changes. But throughout that, even through those changes and the up and downs of the economic events, the business has performed exceptionally well. And it's kept to its core focus of quality and investor-first mentality. Those things haven't changed. Since we last met, we've welcomed a new director, Kylie Boyd, and we've farewelled a standing director in Shane Marshall. Kylie's a professional director. She's a director on a couple of Craig's investment partner boards and a number of private companies. She's a chartered member of the Institute of Directors, has extensive experience in corporate and regulatory compliance, supply chain and commercial contract sales and acquisitions. She's a lawyer and brings a wealth of legal and business acumen to the board, and has taken on a lead role as the director overseeing compliance. She's here today, and I would encourage you to make yourself known to her, and she'll shout you a cup of tea afterwards. So we're really pleased to have her along. After 23 years on the First Mortgage Trust board, Shane Marshall retired this year. We would like to thank Shane for his sterling service to the company over a long period of time. Shane, in his time, provided an invaluable link to the investors, particularly in the Waikato, and he retired feeling that the investor confidence that he had built up over time was well secured and in good hands. When last we met here, 2019, the Capital Group Limited had only recently purchased the management rights to First Mortgage Trust. Capital Group share many of First Mortgage Trust's underlying core elements. They've been in business and property financing for the same length of time, 25 years. They hold their investors' interests as their fundamental priority, as we do. And as we have, we've never lost a cent of clients' money, neither have they. They've brought to FMT deep and extensive experience, particularly in development funding, and they've invested heavily into the business with a long-term investment horizon. So Capital Group has proved to be the perfect successor to the foundation shareholders, the lawyers who were the original shareholders and owners of the management company. My only slide is this one that you can see on the screen there. And I like a couple of things, particularly in relation to that slide. It's a snapshot of the fund from inception. And there's a couple of things that stand out for me in that. The first peak that you see in the slide is the GFC. The drop-off afterwards is what happened to our fund. It dropped in size after the GFC. And it took nearly 8 years to recover to its GFC levels. The second thing that you can see is that the fund has grown significantly since then. I think one of the reasons being that firstly the pandemic didn't have the underlying fundamentals that the global financial crisis had. But secondly, I think investors saw the conservative first mortgage trust investment strategy and consistent returns as an attractive haven from global uncertainties. The second point that comes out of that, and the corollary really, is that your investment now is, through the growth of the book, now secured over a much larger number of quality properties. Since our last investor meetings in 2019, we've changed our branding. We've got a new logo, and this was a considered decision of board and management and the staff. We felt the previous logo and branding, while having served well over a number of years, needed a refresh. And especially as the world continues to move to digitalisation, we needed a logo that would work across different digital media. And we also wanted something that was forward-thinking and reflected our personality, who we are today. As well as growing in fund and loan size, we've also grown in our team numbers. Today we have 54 staff members, many of whom are here. And that's up from 38 when last we met here. Obviously up on the stage here, you'll see that since last time we met, we've got a new CEO in Paul Bendall, who took over from Tony Kinzett. Tony, TK, successfully led the business for 15 years. We farewelled him last year after 15 years as the CEO. He did an outstanding job skillfully navigating the business through some pretty testing times. He would dearly have loved to have gone on a road show to say goodbye to all of the investors around the country and to be able to join you in person at an investor meeting, but COVID prevented that, sadly. Like Shane Marshall, Tony retired from First Mortgage Trust comfortable and confident in the knowledge that he was leaving the business in great heart and in good hands. And we do have a bit of a bonus because I saw him sneak in fashionably late, and so he's here. So those of you that know TK, a chance to say your own goodbye to him and thanks for everything that he did for the fund over his time there. We've got Paul. Prior to taking over as CEO, he'd worked in the business as general manager for 18 months under TK and worked very closely with him to ensure a smooth transition, and it has been a smooth transition. Paul has over 2 decades of extensive experience in property, financial and banking, and prior to joining First Mortgage Trust, he was a director in property mezzanine finance at BNZ. He's highly experienced and the board's been really impressed with him and what he's brought to the business. So he's now going to provide an update on the business. Please welcome your CEO, Paul Bendall.